Beloved, wherever you are watching from, I need you to understand that this is not a random moment and this is not a casual prayer. Time has been summoned, heaven has been alerted, and the Spirit of the Lord has already gone ahead of you. We are standing at the edge of a divine deadline. And before the 20th of December, God has determined that certain doors must open in your life. Not someday, not eventually, not when conditions look better, but within an appointed window that heaven itself has authorized. I want you to hear this with spiritual intelligence. Finances respond to alignment, authority, and timing. Poverty is not just a lack of money. It is often the result of shut systems, blocked pathways, and unauthorized resistance in the spirit realm. Tonight, yes, tonight, we are not begging, we are not wishing, and we are not hoping. We are legislating. We are enforcing what has already been written concerning your increase, your supply, and your divine provision. The Lord says there are 4 financial doors assigned to you, and each door represents a different stream, a different channel, a different access point of favor. One door is connected to opportunities you did not apply for. Another door is tied to debts that will be supernaturally rearranged. One door is linked to helpers you have never met, and the final door is attached to ideas, contracts, and instructions that will shift your income structure permanently. These doors have been delayed, but they have not been denied. Right now, in the realm of the Spirit, keys are being released. Angels have been dispatched with authorization to unlock what human effort could not open, what sweat could not produce. Favor will now accelerate. What logic could not explain, obedience will now activate. This is why you must not listen to this prayer passively. You are not an audience. You are a participant. Your voice, your faith, your agreement is required. Before the 20th of December, systems will respond to you. Banks, employers, clients, businesses, and resources will suddenly remember your name. Where your application was overlooked, it will be revisited. Where your proposal was delayed, it will be approved. Where your payments were stuck, they will be released. The God who commands wealth is stepping into your financial timeline. So as we enter this prayer, I want you to drop every distraction, lift your expectation, get ready to speak, decree, and align, because when this prayer is finished, something in the spirit will have shifted, and what was closed will no longer have the authority to remain shut. This is your moment. This is your window. And before the 20th of December, the doors will open. There is a moment when heaven interrupts time and declares that delay has expired, and this is one of those moments. Divine timing is not a suggestion. It is a force that overrides resistance, cancels stagnation, and reorders outcomes. When God activates timing, circumstances that were frozen begin to move, systems that were slow begin to respond, and doors that seemed sealed begin to recognize authority. What you have been calling delay has not been denial. It has been a matter of timing, waiting for alignment. Now alignment has arrived, and the calendar of heaven has intersected with the calendar of your life. Delay often disguises itself as process, but when divine timing is activated, process accelerates. What should have taken years compresses into days. What was postponed repeatedly suddenly becomes urgent in the minds of decision makers. Files resurface, conversations restart, approvals gain speed, and answers begin to come without you chasing them. This is because timing carries momentum. When God releases timing, he releases movement, and movement dismantles stagnation. Every financial delay you have endured is now being confronted by a superior schedule. There are systems that have been sitting on your name, your application, your request, your seed, and your obedience. These systems did not forget you. They were waiting for authorization. Timing is authorization. When heaven says now, earth must comply. The Spirit of the Lord is stepping into spaces where your efforts reached their limit and declaring that human resistance can no longer override divine instruction. This is why what did not respond to effort will now respond to alignment. Divine timing also brings exposure. Things hidden behind excuses are revealed. Delays that were fueled by negligence, bias, fear, or manipulation are exposed and corrected. When timing is activated, truth surfaces, and truth demands action. People who postpone decisions concerning you will feel pressure to act. Institutions that ignored you will suddenly feel the need to respond. This is not coincidence. This is timing enforcing accountability. Financial delay drains confidence, faith, and expectation, but divine timing restores all three at once. Suddenly, you will find yourself believing again, speaking again, planning again. This is because timing restores hope, and hope reactivates vision. When vision returns, movement follows. God is not just opening doors, He is reawakening your expectations so you are prepared to walk through them without hesitation. There are seasons where prayer feels like repetition because timing has not yet shifted. But when timing activates, prayer becomes enforcement. Your words gain weight. Your declarations carry authority. What you speak now will not fall to the ground unanswered because timing is giving your voice jurisdiction. Heaven is backing what you decree because you are speaking within the authorized window. Divine timing also overrides demonic interference. There are delays that are not natural. They are strategic resistance meant to frustrate obedience. But when God releases timing, resistance loses leverage. What stood against you is now forced to stand down. The same forces that tried to exhaust you will now witness your acceleration. Timing does not negotiate with opposition, it displaces it. So, before December 20. Timing is compressing outcomes. This means events will stack closely together. You may receive multiple responses in a short span. You may see sudden shifts in more than one area at once. This is because timing does not move slowly when it has been delayed. It moves swiftly to recover lost ground. God is restoring not just money, but time, momentum, and progress. Timing also corrects misalignment. Doors that looked good but were not God will quietly close, while doors you did not consider will open with clarity. This protects you from wasting energy and positions you for sustainability. Financial increase without timing leads to instability, but increase released within timing establishes longevity. God is not just giving you money, He is securing your future. There are conversations happening right now that you are not present in, yet they concern you directly. Timing has activated remembrance. Your name is coming up in rooms you have never entered. Ideas associated with you are being revisited. Opportunities attached to your obedience are resurfacing. Timing has a way of calling your name into spaces your feet have never touched. Divine timing also brings courage. You will find yourself making moves you were previously afraid to make. Fear loses its grip when timing speaks. You will send the email, make the call, submit the proposal, apply again, launch again, because something inside you knows that now is different. That inner knowing is timing bearing witness with your spirit. Financial delay often convinces people to settle, but timing restores insistence. You will no longer accept partial answers, vague promises, or postponed commitments. You will insist on clarity, follow through, and completion because timing empowers boldness. When heaven is backing your now, you do not shrink, you stand firm. This activation of timing is also a response to obedience you rendered when no one was watching. Seeds sown in silence are now demanding harvest. Sacrifices made in faith are now calling for manifestation. Timing remembers what people forget. God has not lost track of your faithfulness, and timing is now translating obedience into reward. As timing overrides delay, you will notice a shift in pace. Things will feel faster, lighter, clearer. What once felt heavy will no longer drain you. This is because resistance has been reduced. Timing removes friction. When God says now, He also supplies grace for the moment. You will not be overwhelmed by what opens because grace will match access. This is why you must stay spiritually alert. Timing windows do not stay open indefinitely. They require responsiveness. What you hear now must be acted on quickly. Delayed obedience can miss accelerated provision. God is speaking clearly because timing demands clarity. Confusion is lifting so decisions can be made without hesitation. Every financial delay tied to mistiming, misalignment, or interference is being confronted by divine order. Heaven is recalibrating your timeline so that what should have happened earlier can still happen better. Redemption is not repetition, it is restoration with advantage. Timing is not bringing you back to where you were, it is taking you beyond where you should have been. As this timing activates, you will sense urgency without anxiety, peace without passivity, expectation without fear. This is the signature of divine timing. It does not rush you, but it does move you. It does not pressure you, but it does propel you. You will know when to act because the signal will be unmistakable. Before December 20, delay will lose its voice in your life. The narrative of waiting will be replaced with a testimony of movement. What has been suspended is now being released. What has been withheld is now being authorized. What has been slow is now being accelerated by a superior clock, a divine schedule, a heavenly mandate that declares that the time is now and the season has shifted and the door is responding and the system is unlocking and the flow is beginning and the resistance is breaking and the alignment is settling and the authorization is active and the calendar of heaven is enforcing change. There are moments when God does not just promise provision, but assigns access. Financial doors are not random openings. They are authorized entry points into resources, opportunities, and systems prepared in advance. When a door is assigned, it means heaven has already mapped the pathway, selected the timing, and designated the outcome. You are not trying to force your way into blessing. You are stepping into what has been pre-approved. This is why resistance has felt intense, because assigned doors attract opposition. But opposition cannot cancel assignment. Each assigned door carries a specific purpose. One door is designed to release provision for immediate needs. Another is structured to establish stability. Another is meant to expand capacity. And another is intended to secure a legacy. These doors do not compete with one another. They complement each other. God does not bless in fragments. When he opens doors, he does so with intention, order, and multiplication. What you are entering is not a single breakthrough, but a system of increase. Assigned doors recognize authority. They do not respond to desperation. They respond to alignment. This is why striving did not produce results, but surrender is now producing clarity. When you align your will with heaven's agenda, doors begin to identify you. What once felt out of reach will now feel familiar. You will walk into rooms and realize you belong there. You will engage opportunities and sense that they were waiting for you. Some doors are attached to people, and some people are attached to doors. There are relationships that carry access you cannot manufacture. God assigns connections strategically, and when timing activates, those connections locate you. You do not have to chase helpers. Helpers recognize assignment. Conversations will feel divinely orchestrated. Introductions will feel unusually smooth. Agreements will form without excessive negotiation because the door has already been authorized. Assigned financial doors often open in unexpected ways. They may not look like your original prayer, but they will fulfill your deepest need. God answers prayers with wisdom, not just desire. What he opens will be sustainable, not just sensational. You may receive income through channels you had not previously considered. Ideas will surface that align with your skills but exceed your expectations. This is because assigned doors are customized to your capacity and future. Resistance does not mean rejection. Often it is confirmation that the door matters. The enemy resists doors that change trajectories. If all you needed was survival, opposition would be minimal. But these doors are designed to shift your financial narrative, restructure your income, and reposition your influence. That level of impact attracts warfare, but warfare does not determine outcome. Assignment does. When God assigns a door, he also assigns favor. Favor is the currency that grants smooth passage. It causes people to say yes when policy says no. It accelerates timelines. It softens hearts. Favor cannot be earned. It is released. As these doors open, you will notice ease, replacing struggle. Effort will still be required, but it will be productive rather than exhausting. You will work with grace rather than grind. Each assigned door carries instructions. Access without instruction leads to loss. God speaks not only about what he is opening, but how to steward what comes through it. You will sense guidance about when to move, when to wait, when to invest, and when to decline. Obedience will protect the door from closing prematurely. Listening becomes as important as action because sustainability depends on alignment. Some doors open quietly. Not every breakthrough announces itself loudly. You may not see fireworks, but you will see consistency. Payments will become predictable. Opportunities will repeat. Streams will stabilize. This is often the most powerful kind of breakthrough because it creates peace. God is not just interested in your increase. He is invested in your rest. Assigned doors also correct past losses. What was taken, mishandled, or delayed will be restored through new channels. God does not always give back the same way he allowed something to leave, but he always restores value. The door you are entering now will compensate for the one that closed before. This is not replacement, it is upgrade. There are doors you were never meant to open because they would have exposed you before you were ready. Delay protected you. Growth had to happen. Character had to mature. Discernment had to sharpen. Now those internal preparations have caught up with external opportunity. This alignment is what makes these doors safe. God opens doors when who you are can handle where you're going. Assigned doors remain open through faithfulness. What you do after entry determines longevity. Gratitude, humility, integrity, and generosity sustain access. God watches how you handle increase because increase is not just for consumption, it is for assignment. As you steward well, doors multiply. One opening leads to another because faithfulness expands capacity. You are not entering these doors alone. What comes to you will touch others. Your increase will become provision for family, relief for pressure, and seed for impact. God blesses with overflow because overflow has purpose. These doors are not just about money. They are about influence, stability, and testimony. As these doors open, clarity will increase, confusion will lift. You will know which opportunities to pursue and which to decline. Discernment will guard your time and energy. Not every open door is your door, but assigned doors come with peace. Even when they stretch you, they will not disturb your spirit. The opening of these doors marks a shift in identity. You move from survival to stewardship, from hoping to managing, from praying for provision to planning with provision. This transition requires a renewed mindset. You are not waiting anymore, you are entering. You are not chasing anymore, you are receiving. You are not forcing anymore, you are aligning. These 4 assigned doors are coordinated. They will not conflict with one another. One will support the next. One will prepare you for another. God builds increase in layers, not chaos. As each door opens, you will recognize its place in the larger picture. Nothing will feel wasted. Nothing will feel random. Heaven has already signed off on these doors. The approval is complete. The resistance you faced was temporary. The assignment remains intact. What is opening now is not fragile. It has weight. It has backing. It has purpose. You are stepping into what was prepared long before you asked, long before you worried, long before you doubted, long before you struggled, long before you questioned, long before you waited, long before you hoped, long before you prayed, long before you sowed, long before you believed, long before you imagined, long before you expected, long before you needed, long before you realized that God had already gone ahead of you and placed your name on the door and secured the access and established the outcome and authorized the entry and aligned the timing and positioned the favor and prepared the provision and declared that it belongs to you, and it will open and it will remain open and it will produce and it will multiply and it will establish and it will sustain. Keys are symbols of authority, and authority is what determines access. When heaven releases keys, it is not offering possibility. It is granting permission. Blocked income systems do not open because of effort alone. They open when authority confronts restriction. There are financial systems that have been closed not because you were unqualified, but because access had not yet been authorized. Now, authorization has been released, and keys are moving in the spirit realm to unlock what has been sealed. Every block system has a gatekeeper. Sometimes that gatekeeper is a person, sometimes it is a policy, sometimes it is fear, sometimes it is lack of information, and sometimes it is spiritual resistance. Keys address all of them at once. When a key turns, it bypasses argument, it does not negotiate, it simply opens. What persuasion could not achieve, authority now accomplishes. What persistence could not break through, permission now overrides. Income systems are more than jobs or businesses. They are networks, platforms, channels, and structures through which resources flow. When these systems are blocked, effort increases, but results decrease. You work harder, but see less return. You sow faithfully, but harvest slowly. This blockage creates frustration and fatigue, but when keys are released, flow is restored. The same effort produces greater results because resistance has been removed. Heavenly keys are precise. They are not generic solutions applied randomly. Each key is cut for a specific lock. This means God knows exactly where your blockage is. He knows which door has been resisting you. He knows which system has been holding back your increase. Nothing is hidden from him. The key being released now matches the lock that has been standing in your way. Some income systems were blocked by limitation in thinking. Mindsets can become gates that restrict expansion, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of visibility, and fear of responsibility can silently lock doors. When keys are released, they also unlock understanding. Insight begins to flow. Ideas become clearer. Confidence rises. You begin to see possibilities you previously overlooked. Mental clarity is often the first sign that a system is opening. Other systems were blocked by lack of access to the right people. Talent without connection can remain hidden. Skill without exposure can remain underpaid. Keys unlock relationships. Suddenly introductions happen, referrals come, someone mentions your name in the right room. These moments are not accidents. They are doors opening through relational access that was previously unavailable. There are also systems blocked by spiritual opposition. Any channel that increases influence attracts resistance. The enemy does not fight what is insignificant. If your income potential threatens to shift your family, your future, or your impact, resistance will try to delay it. But keys outrank opposition. When heaven releases authority, resistance must retreat. What stood against you loses its legal right to remain. Keys do not just open doors, they change status. Once a door opens, you are no longer an outsider. You move from waiting to participating, from requesting to receiving, from hoping to managing. This shift requires maturity. God releases keys to those who can steward access responsibly. What is opening now comes with responsibility, wisdom, and accountability. Block income systems often involve stagnation. Things remain the same for too long. You repeat cycles without progress. Keys break cycles. When a lock opens, movement begins. You may notice sudden changes in rhythm, faster responses, expanded reach. This acceleration can feel overwhelming at first, but it is evidence that flow has been restored. Some systems were blocked by past mistakes. Decisions made years ago created consequences that lingered. Shame convinced you that certain doors were permanently closed. But keys are instruments of redemption. They do not erase history, but they override it. God opens doors not because you were perfect, but because He is faithful. Restoration does not ask permission from your past. Keys also unlock strategy. Increase without strategy leads to loss. As systems open, God releases wisdom to manage them. You will know how to price, how to negotiate, how to plan, how to save, and how to invest. This wisdom protects what flows to you. It ensures that open doors remain open and that income systems remain stable. There are systems blocked by delay rather than denial. Timing was not right. Other pieces were missing. Other alignments had to fall into place. Now those alignments have converged. The key fits because the season fits. What would have failed before will now succeed because the environment has shifted. Keys can be transferred. Authority can be delegated. As doors open for you, you become a key holder for others. Your testimony becomes access. Your experience becomes guidance. God often opens income systems not just to bless individuals, but to create pathways for communities. What unlocks for you will unlock hope for those watching your journey. Some doors open quietly, but their impact is loud. Small increases compound over time. Consistent flow builds stability. Stability creates peace. Peace allows focus. Focus multiplies productivity. These are the results of unlocked systems. God is not just opening one moment, He is restoring a flow that sustains. Keys also protect. Once a door opens, it does not mean everything is allowed in. Authority determines what enters and what stays out. Discernment increases. You will sense when something is not aligned. You will have the confidence to say no without fear. This protection preserves your energy and your integrity. As income systems unlock, your relationship with money changes. Fear loosens its grip. Anxiety decreases. Planning becomes possible. Generosity becomes joyful rather than stressful. This internal shift is just as important as the external breakthrough. God heals the soul while He blesses the hands. What opens now will require readiness. Opportunities may demand quick response. Decisions may need to be made without delay. This is why sensitivity is critical. Stay attentive. Listen closely. Obedience keeps doors from closing. Gratitude keeps flow steady. Humility keeps favor active. Keys are already in motion. Authority has been released. Locks are responding. Systems are adjusting. People are repositioning. Resources are shifting. What was blocked is loosening. What was restricted is yielding. What was slow is accelerating. The flow is beginning to move through channels that were dry, through networks that were silent, through structures that were inactive, through opportunities that were dormant, through assignments that were waiting, through doors that were closed, through systems that were blocked, through paths that were resisted, through spaces that were restricted, through access points that were denied, through streams that were limited, through flows that were interrupted, through cycles that were stagnant, through seasons that were delayed, through moments that were postponed, through outcomes that were withheld, through provision that was assigned and is now being released and authorized and unlocked and activated and restored and flowing. Supernatural favor is not luck, chance, or coincidence. It is divine advantage activated by alignment with heaven. When favor replaces struggle, it means the rules that once worked against you are being rewritten. Struggle exhausts effort without reward, but favor multiplies effort with ease. It is the difference between pushing a door open and having it swing open on its own. Favor does not remove responsibility, but it removes resistance. What once required strain will now respond with cooperation. Struggle often convinces people that hardship is proof of faithfulness, but God never designed struggle as a permanent state. There are seasons of pressing, but favor marks the transition from pressing to possessing. When favor arrives, it announces that the season has shifted. You will still work, but the work will no longer feel heavy. You will still sow, but the harvest will no longer be delayed. This is because favor changes the atmosphere around your effort. Financial resistance can come from many directions. Systems resist, people resist, circumstances resist, even your own emotions can resist progress. Favor confronts all of it at once. It softens what was rigid, it accelerates what was slow, it opens what was closed. Favor speaks on your behalf in places where your voice never reached. It creates agreement where there was hesitation. It generates solutions where there were excuses. When supernatural favor replaces struggle, stress begins to lift. You notice peace returning to areas that once triggered anxiety. Bills no longer dominate your thoughts. Needs no longer consume your prayers. This does not mean responsibility disappears. It means provision begins to match demand. God never intended you to live in constant pressure. Favor restores balance so you can function with clarity rather than survival mentality. Favor also changes how people perceive you. Without you announcing it, respect increases. Trust grows. Confidence in your ability rises in the minds of decision makers. This is not manipulation, it is divine influence. Favor adjusts perception so that what you carry is recognized. People will see value they previously overlooked. Your words will carry more weight. Your presence will command attention without effort. Struggle often trains people to expect disappointment, but favor retrains expectation. You begin to anticipate good outcomes. You plan with hope rather than caution. This shift is important because expectation influences action. When you expect favor, you move differently. You apply again. You ask again. You show up again. Favor rewards courage because courage signals readiness. Financial resistance thrives in environments of fear and uncertainty. Favor introduces clarity. You will know where to focus your energy and where to withdraw it. Wasted effort will decrease. Distractions will lose appeal. God will streamline your assignments so you are not scattered. Focus increases productivity, and productivity attracts. Supernatural favor does not always look dramatic at first. Sometimes it shows up as consistency, regular income, predictable opportunities, stable growth. These are signs that struggle has been replaced. Chaos exits when favor enters. God values order because order sustains blessing. What he gives through favor is designed to last, not flash and fade. Resistance often drains creativity. When you are constantly fighting, you cannot imagine. Favor restores creativity. Ideas flow freely. Solutions come easily. Innovation awakens. This is because peace creates space for inspiration. As favor increases, you will notice your mind opening to new possibilities. God often uses ideas as vehicles for financial increase. Favor also attracts alignment. People who are meant to support your assignment will recognize you. Those who were draining your energy will naturally fall away. This is not loss, it is protection. Favor curates your environment so that what surrounds you supports what God is doing within you. The right environment accelerates growth. Struggle teaches people to cling tightly to what they have, but favor teaches generosity. When flow is restored, fear loosens. Giving becomes joyful rather than stressful. God releases favor not just to bless you, but to make you a conduit. What flows through you is meant to touch others. This keeps the flow active because generosity keeps channels clear. Resistance can also come from internalized limitations. Years of struggle can convince you that ease is unsafe or undeserved. Favor challenges those beliefs. You may feel uncomfortable at first receiving without fighting. This discomfort is part of healing. God is retraining your soul to accept good without suspicion. Healing is necessary to sustain blessing. Supernatural favor also brings protection. It guards what enters your life. Not every opportunity is good, even if it looks profitable. Favor comes with discernment. You will sense when something is misaligned. You will have the courage to say no without fear of lack. Protection ensures that favor does not lead to compromise. As struggle fades, gratitude increases. You begin to recognize God's hand in everyday provision. This awareness deepens relationship. Blessing without relationship leads to pride, but blessing with gratitude deepens humility. God values the posture of the heart as much as the outcome of the hand. Favor also shortens recovery time. Setbacks will no longer take you out for long. Mistakes will not derail momentum. God will redeem time quickly. What once took months to recover from will take weeks or days. This resilience is evidence that resistance has lost its grip. Financial resistance often isolates people. Struggle makes you withdraw. Favor restores connection. You will feel safe to collaborate, partner, and engage again. Isolation breaks when trust returns. God often uses relationships as conduits for increase, and favor reopens relational flow. Ease does not mean absence of challenge. It means challenges no longer dominate outcomes. You may face obstacles, but they will not stop progress. Favor ensures that even opposition works in your favor. What was meant to slow you down will redirect you to something better. As favor replaces struggle, your testimony changes. You move from stories of survival to stories of provision, from prayers of desperation to prayers of gratitude. This shift glorifies God because it reveals his ability to sustain, not just rescue. The replacement of struggle with favor also affects future generations. Patterns are broken. New standards are set. What you model becomes permission for those connected to you. God often blesses individuals to alter family narratives. Favor has generational reach. You will notice that rest becomes possible again. Sleep improves. Health stabilizes. Joy returns. These are not small details. They are indicators that pressure has lifted. God cares about your wholeness, not just your income. Supernatural favor will begin to touch multiple areas at once. Finances improve, relationships stabilize, vision clarifies, energy returns. This holistic shift confirms that the season has changed. God does not compartmentalize blessing. He restores alignment across life. As resistance fades, obedience becomes easier. You are no longer obeying out of fear, but out of trust. Trust deepens relationship. Relationship sustains favor. This cycle keeps increase flowing without strain. Favor does not announce itself loudly. You will recognize it by the absence of struggle, by the ease of movement, by the speed of response, by the peace of mind, by the consistency of provision, by the alignment of people, by the clarity of direction, by the restoration of joy, by the sense that things are finally working together rather than against you. This is how you know that supernatural favor has replaced struggle and financial resistance. has lost its authority. And what once fought you is now cooperating, and what once drained you is now supplying, and what once delayed you is now accelerating, and what once opposed you is now aligning, and what once pressured you is now supporting, and what once exhausted you is now strengthening, and what once resisted you is now yielding, and what once blocked you is now opening, and what once restricted you is now flowing, and what once burdened you is now lifting, and what once held you back is now moving you forward, and what once required force is now responding with ease. And what once felt impossible is now becoming normal. And what once seemed distant is now within reach. And what once felt heavy is now light. And what once felt stuck is now shifting. And what once demanded struggle is now carried by favor. Divine helpers are proof that God never intended you to fulfill purpose alone. There are assignments too heavy for one set of hands, doors too guarded for one voice, and opportunities too complex for isolated effort. This is why God positions people strategically along your path. Helpers are not random relationships. They are answers disguised as connection. When God decides to accelerate a season, he releases people who carry access, information, favor, and authority that complement what you lack. Opportunities often arrive through people, and people often arrive carrying opportunities. This divine positioning is intentional. God aligns hearts before he aligns resources. He causes your name to surface in conversations you did not initiate. He places your image in the minds of those who have the power to recommend, refer, approve, and open doors. This is how God bypasses limitation. He uses human vessels to deliver divine outcomes. Divine helpers are not always obvious. Some appear as mentors, some as peers, some as clients, some as partners, and some as strangers who offer timely insight. Their role is not always permanent, but their impact is precise. God assigns helpers according to season. A helper for survival is different from a helper for expansion. A helper for learning is different from a helper for execution. As your season changes, the type of help you attract changes. Many delays are not caused by lack of effort, but by absence of alignment. You may have been skilled, willing, and faithful, yet still limited because the right connection had not yet arrived. God does not reward effort alone. He honors alignment. When alignment happens, effort produces exponential results. One conversation can accomplish what years of striving could not. Divine helpers are positioned to locate you, not the other way around. This removes the pressure of chasing validation, approval, or recognition. When God assigns help, he gives helpers clarity to recognize you. They feel drawn to your assignment. They sense resonance in your vision. They notice your consistency. This recognition is not emotional. It is spiritual. Spirit recognizes spirit. Opportunities also have a location. They exist within environments, systems, and networks. God positions you strategically so opportunities can find you without force. You may feel prompted to attend an event, join a platform, revisit an idea, or re-engage a space you previously left. These movements are not random. They are positioning shifts designed to bring you into proximity with what has been assigned to you. Divine helpers often appear when you are prepared internally, not when you are desperate externally. God waits until character, humility, and discernment mature because help without wisdom can become harm. Timing matters. When help arrives too early, it can distract. When it arrives at the right time, it multiplies. This is why some connections did not work before the season was not aligned. Helpers also test stewardship. How you treat access determines whether access increases. God watches how you handle relationships. Pride closes doors that humility would keep open. Gratitude sustains connections. Honor preserves favor. Helpers are sensitive to posture. When they sense entitlement, they withdraw. When they sense appreciation and integrity, they invest more. Some helpers are assigned to speak what you cannot hear alone. They provide perspective, correction, and clarity. Their value is not just what they give, but what they reveal. God uses helpers to protect you from blind spots. This protection is part of provision. Financial increase without wisdom can become loss. God sends helpers to guard your growth. Opportunities positioned for you will align with your capacity, not just your desire. God does not overwhelm, He equips. What comes to you will stretch you but not break you. Each opportunity prepares you for the next. God builds increase progressively. He uses smaller wins to prepare you for larger responsibilities. This progression ensures sustainability. Divine helpers are not always comfortable. Some challenge you, some disrupt your routines, some push you beyond familiarity. This discomfort is purposeful. Growth requires tension. Helpers assigned for expansion will stretch your thinking, challenge your habits, and confront your limitations. Their role is not to please you, but to prepare you. Opportunities often come disguised as problems that need solutions. You may notice needs that others ignore. You may feel burdened by inefficiencies. These burdens are invitations. God often positions opportunity within frustration. What irritates you may be what you are called to solve. Helpers then appear to support the execution of that solution. God positions helpers across different layers of influence. Some operate behind the scenes. Some are visible advocates. Some provide resources. Some provide wisdom. Some provide credibility. Each plays a role. You do not need one person to do everything. God distributes help so that no single relationship becomes an idol. Helpers are also mirrors. They reflect your readiness. When you attract quality help, it confirms internal growth. God aligns you with people who match your maturity level. As you grow, the caliber of help increases. This progression is evidence that God is expanding your capacity to manage more. Opportunities positioned for you will often require swift obedience. Delay can miss alignment. God times connections precisely. A postponed response can close a window. This is why sensitivity is critical. When you sense prompting, act quickly. Obedience keeps you synchronized with divine movement. Some helpers will come from unexpected places. God enjoys bypassing human expectations. He may use someone younger, someone outside your industry, someone from a different background. This keeps you humble and alert. It also ensures that glory returns to God rather than to human systems. Divine helpers do not replace God, they reveal Him. They are instruments, not sources. God remains the provider, the director, the sustainer. Helpers are channels. When you honor the channel without idolizing it, flow remains uninterrupted. When you idolize the helper, flow becomes restricted. Opportunities positioned for you will align with your values. They will not require compromise. God does not bless disobedience. What He assigns will be consistent with integrity. If an opportunity demands that you violate conscience, it is not from Him. Divine opportunities bring peace even when they bring challenge. Helpers also arrive to confirm direction. When multiple people echo the same insight, it is confirmation. God speaks through patterns. Repetition is a sign of emphasis. Helpers help you discern timing, direction, and priority. They help you avoid distraction. Some helpers will only be present briefly. Their assignment is specific. Release them without offense when their role is complete. Holding on beyond season can create strain. God rotates helpers to match seasons. Trust His transitions. Opportunities often increase visibility. This can feel uncomfortable. God positions helpers to support this exposure. They provide covering, counsel, and accountability. Visibility without support can lead to burnout. God ensures balance. As helpers and opportunities locate you, your confidence will increase, not from pride, but from clarity. You will recognize that you are not alone. You will sense momentum building. Movement replaces stagnation. Expectation replaces doubt. God positions helpers ahead of need. By the time you realize you require assistance, provision is already near. This foresight reflects God's care. He prepares answers before prayers are fully formed. Opportunities positioned for you carry responsibility. Stewardship determines longevity. How you manage first access influences future access. God watches consistency more than intensity. Faithfulness attracts expansion. Divine helpers also intercede for you. Some pray for you without you knowing. Some advocate for you in private spaces. Their unseen support creates visible outcomes. This hidden help is part of divine strategy. As this season unfolds, remain open. Guard against isolation. Pride isolates, humility attracts. Teachability invites assistance. Gratitude sustains connection. You are being located. Your name is surfacing. Your work is being noticed. Your faithfulness is being remembered. Helpers are being stirred. Opportunities are aligning. Paths are converging. Conversations are forming. Introductions are pending. Doors are positioning. Systems are adjusting. God is orchestrating alignment beyond your awareness. What is meant for you is moving toward you. What is assigned to you recognizes you. What is prepared for you is locating you. What is needed for your next level is already in motion. What will support your expansion is aligning. What will accelerate your progress is approaching. What will stabilize your increase is positioning. What will confirm your calling is appearing. What will multiply your effort is emerging. What will open access is approaching. What will shift your trajectory is near. What will sustain your growth is ready. What will advance your purpose is locating you now. Declarations are not motivational phrases. They are legal instruments in the spirit realm. When you speak in alignment with heaven, you are not expressing desire. You are issuing authorization. Words carry jurisdiction. Silence forfeits ground. But declaration enforces ownership. This is why obedience and speech are inseparable. Obedience positions you, but declarations activate what obedience has positioned you for. Heaven responds to agreement, and agreement is voiced. Faith that remains internal remains incomplete. Belief must exit the mouth to enter authority. God created the world by speaking, and he governs outcomes by words. When you declare, you are not informing God, you are aligning with him. You are repeating what he has already spoken so it can be enforced in your environment. Declarations give heaven permission to intervene in earthly systems. Any breakthroughs remain delayed not because God has not answered, but because the believer has not enforced. There is a difference between prayer and enforcement. Prayer request, enforcement commands. Prayer asks God to move. Enforcement declares that God has already moved and the result must manifest. When obedience meets declaration, resistance loses its legal standing. Obedience is the posture that qualifies your voice. Authority does not come from volume, it comes from alignment. When you obey what God has already instructed, your words gain weight. Disobedience weakens declaration because it creates internal contradiction. Heaven backs consistency. When your lifestyle agrees with your language, your declarations carry power. Declarations are not emotional reactions. They are intentional alignments. You speak even when you do not feel change. You declare even when circumstances disagree. This is how enforcement works. Authority does not wait for evidence, it creates evidence. What you consistently declare becomes the framework your environment must adjust to. Financial breakthroughs are governed by systems, and systems respond to authority. When you declare increase, provision, access, and favor in alignment with God's word, you are confronting systems that have resisted you. You are serving notice that delay is no longer authorized. Words become warrants. Heaven issues backing, earth must respond. Many people obey privately but remain silent publicly. This creates partial alignment. God expects obedience in action and boldness, in declaration. Silence communicates consent to the current condition. Declarations revoke that consent. When you speak, you are withdrawing permission from lack, delay, and resistance to operate in your life. Declarations also reprogram the mind. Repeated struggle conditions people to speak limitation. Words like maybe, someday, and hopefully weaken authority. Declarations retrain language. You begin to speak in certainty, not arrogance, but alignment. This internal shift is necessary because the mouth follows belief. As belief strengthens, language changes. And as language changes, outcomes follow. Obedience sharpens discernment. When you obey quickly, you hear more clearly. Clear hearing produces precise declarations. Precision matters. Vague words produce vague results. When God gives clarity, your declarations target specific outcomes. You speak to doors, you speak to systems, you speak to delays, you speak to assignments. This specificity accelerates manifestation. Declarations also activate angelic activity. Scripture shows angels respond to the word of the Lord spoken by believers. When you declare God's word, you are releasing assignments. Angels move when words are aligned. Silence limits their activity. Speaking releases movement. This is not symbolic, it is operational. There is also a rhythm to declaration. Consistency builds momentum. One declaration initiates movement, repeated declarations sustain it. Over time, resistance weakens. What once pushed back begins to yield. This is why persistence in speech matters. You are not repeating because nothing is happening. Obedience positions you under authority, and being under authority is what gives you authority. You cannot command what you refuse to submit to. Submission is not weakness, it is alignment. When you submit to God's instruction, your declarations carry the authority of the one you submit to. This is why obedience is non-negotiable for enforcement. Declarations also establish boundaries. You define what is allowed and what is not. When you declare peace, anxiety loses access. When you declare provision, lack loses permission. When you declare favor, resistance loses influence. Boundaries are set by words. What you tolerate verbally, you authorize spiritually. Many people declare outcomes but resist instruction. This creates friction. God's pattern is obedience first, declaration second, manifestation third. Skipping steps weakens results. When you obey, then declare, then expect, the flow remains uninterrupted. Expectation without obedience produces frustration. Obedience without declaration produces delay. Declaration without expectation produces inconsistency. Declarations must be rooted in God's word, not personal fantasy. Authority comes from alignment with truth. When you speak what God has promised, heaven backs it fully. When you speak personal ambition without divine alignment, words lose force. This is why time in God's presence matters. You must know what to declare. Financial enforcement requires courage. Speaking against lack when accounts disagree takes faith, but courage is proof of belief. Fear silences authority. Courage activates it. Every time you declare in faith, fear weakens. Over time, confidence replaces hesitation. This confidence is not self-generated. It is the result of repeated alignment. Declarations also shift atmosphere. Homes change, workplaces change, conversations change. When you consistently speak life, favor, and increase, environments adjust. People respond differently. Opportunities surface. Resistance diminishes. Atmosphere is shaped by dominant language. Obedience often requires letting go of habits, mindsets, or relationships that contradict what you are declaring. God will not enforce what you undermine. If you declare increase but cling to fear, the system remains conflicted. Alignment requires integrity. What you speak and what you sustain must agree. Declarations are seeds. Words enter the future and wait for manifestation. Just as negative words produce harvests, positive declarations produce outcomes. The law works consistently. You are always planning with your mouth. Awareness increases responsibility. Once you understand this, silence becomes intentional and speech becomes strategic. Enforcement also requires patience. Authority does not always produce immediate visibility, but it always produces eventual compliance. Systems may resist briefly, but they cannot resist indefinitely when authority is consistent. This is why perseverance matters. You do not stop declaring because you have not seen change yet. You continue because enforcement is in progress. Obedience keeps your authority clean. When your conscience is clear, your declarations are bold. Guilt weakens confidence. Obedience restores it. God wants you to speak without hesitation, without doubt, without apology. Confidence flows from alignment. Declamations are also acts of faith that honor God. When you speak his promises, you affirm trust. This pleases him. Faith is expressed through speech. God responds to faith with action. This cycle sustains breakthrough. As obedience and declaration work together, momentum builds. What was once effort becomes flow. What was once resisted becomes responsive. This is enforcement in action. You are not waiting anymore, you are participating. You are not hoping anymore, you are declaring. You are not observing anymore, you are enforcing. Your voice is not insignificant. It carries authority because God authorized it. Your obedience is not wasted, it positions you for enforcement. Your declarations are not empty, they are instruments. Speak consistently, speak deliberately, speak aligned, speak without fear, speak without retreat, speak with confidence, speak with expectation, speak with authority, speak with persistence, speak with obedience, speak with clarity, speak with faith, speak with discipline, speak with conviction, speak with consistency, speak until resistance yields, speak until systems respond, speak until doors open, speak until provision flows. Speak until favor manifests. Speak until delay breaks. Speak until alignment settles. Speak until obedience produces evidence. Speak until what heaven has authorized becomes visible in your life. And what was declared becomes established. And what was enforced becomes experienced. And what was spoken becomes reality. And what was aligned becomes manifest. And what was resisted becomes cooperative. And what was delayed becomes accelerated. And what was assigned becomes released.